I'm going to resume recording. And that you sign in with your campus name. You don't, if you want to give me each of your names that's there with you, that'd be awesome. If not, if you're all just attending together, it's totally fine if I just have your campus name. Just so I kind of know who's there. I like everyone fixing their hair. I know when you're in front of the screen, it's like, who knows? Mine's probably a hot mess. I've been in the office all day. All right, so just to let you know, third grade is, or second grade 1 is having one right next to us. So you may hear Sheila's voice in the background. Let's see. There's my Shaw friends. Seaburn, I see you. Hodges, Moss, McKenzie, Smith, yay. All right, well, it is 3:33, so we're going to go ahead and start. So today I want to talk about Lucy, and I know the last time we were together, one of the teachers from Thompson had a question about the rubric and the difference, because on the first grade rubric or checklist, talking about adding details is in 2 different places and they look very similar. And so I've tried to kind of process that and think about some examples. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. I want to start first with letting you know that this is kind of our goals for today. We're going to talk about planning for Lucy. I'd love to hear how you guys plan as a team. What does that kind of look like for you? And then we're going to talk about using the rubrics or the checklist and how you kind of use that to help students set goals. We'll have some Q&A time, and then I didn't put it on there. I've also got a few things that are upcoming that I want to make sure I share with you. So let's get started. Before I put anything up there, I want to hear from you guys. What is your, let me think about how to say it. What's the best thing about Lucy? And what's the worst thing? And it's totally okay to be completely honest. If the worst thing is she uses too many words, I get it. So go ahead and type in the comments your what's the best thing about Lucy and what's the worst thing about Lucy. Talk to your teammates that are there with you. Make sure they agree. Why did this go over here? I don't want this over here. Right over here. Thank you. All right, so let's see what you guys are saying. Lengthy for weekly planning and script is a positive. Okay. Student examples. I've been trying to move some of those over to your zip drive, so hopefully you found some of those student examples in there. She is wordy. A lot of prep. Somebody from Tysinger, would you share kind of what you mean by a lot of prep? Let me find you, Tysinger, because I can't hear you if you're talking. My question is, do you feel like you have to read everything to your kids? Tysinger, where are you at? There you are. No, that's Shaw. Yes, no. Let me just do a little check because some of you I can't hear. Please make sure that you've unmuted your microphone. Tysinger, wave at me.
Yeah.
Are you? Where are you? Where's Tysinger? I'm trying to find you. Okay. I can't see you if you're waving at me. I don't know why I'm not able to see the chat. Let me see if I can see. Here we go. There, I got it. Sorry. Okay. Let's just keep moving. Some of you I can hear, and for some reason I can't hear others of you. But good lesson, too wordy. Okay. What is too wordy to you guys? So somebody that wrote too wordy, what part is too wordy? I don't necessarily disagree.
Can you hear me?
I can hear.
Shaw.
Yes, I hear you, Shaw.
Okay, I was just going to say, we didn't write that, but there's just so much to read.
Mm-hmm.
So normally what we do is I usually will like read through it, and I'll make a smaller script or like bullet points, and that
okay.
helps us stay focused. because I'm not going to teach my kids the same words that she's going to use. Because I'm just not as peppy as she is. But
I don't know. You're pretty peppy sometimes.
well, I just make it to where our whole team
Yeah.
knows exactly what the goal is. But it's just, I think with the wordy, it's just a lot to read.
It is a lot to read. So
we put that there's not enough time to teach all of what she has in there.
So, one thing I think that when we got to hear her speak, it's probably been about 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that she said about all of her units of study, especially the writing, is that she's written it both as a curricular piece for you to have instruction, but it's also a professional development piece for the teacher, kind of combined in one. And so that is the reason it's so wordy. Hopefully, the more years we have to work with it, we'll become more familiar with what she's saying in there, and you won't feel like you have to read all of it. But I agree definitely with what you said, Henderson, that you have to really pull out. That was Kristen, right, that said that a while ago?
No, it's Catherine.
Catherine, I can't remember. Can't see everybody's names right now. But to pull out those points. So this is kind of what I was going to ask. So talk to me. You started just a little bit, Catherine, with how you guys plan. So I'd love to hear from somebody else. Respond either in the comments or out loud. How does your team plan for an upcoming Lucy lesson? So let's say tomorrow's Tuesday. So I'm sure by Tuesday, Wednesday, you guys are already starting to talk about next week. So how does your team go about that?
Okay, at Smith, sorry, am I loud?
No, all of a sudden I turned it up and it was loud. Ty Singer, I see what you're saying. Go ahead, Smith.
Okay, at Smith's, we basically read the whole section and we kind of have an idea of what we want to teach to our kids based on what needs our students have. So we'll pick and choose, and then we'll throw out ideas of differentiation and how we could teach that lesson if we don't like the way it's being taught in the book, like an alternative method.
Okay. So you'll take the teaching point
Mm-hmm.
and decide if this is the teaching point we're doing and what Lucy proposes to say or do doesn't work for us, then you'll brainstorm ideas together that might work
Yes.
better. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So when you said you guys read, so before you come to like a planning session all together, do you split up the sections within the lesson? Like if, let's say, coming up, you've got options of lesson 18 through 20?
No, we don't split it up.
Okay, so you have to, like, before you come, you're responsible for reading all of whatever lessons are proposed for that week, and then talking through them.
Well, it's usually two. These past 2 weeks is 4 lessons, but the past couple from the beginning, it's been 2 lessons. So it's basically, if you don't read it, skim it, and at least know the gist of it.
Okay.
What's going on?
Okay. Awesome. Anybody? We'll get to why there's 4 coming up instead of just 2. Soon. But somebody else share. I see some of you have kind of written what you do. Would someone kind of share out loud? If you do something a little different, what do you do? Do I have anyone willing?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Is that it, Henry?
Yeah.
Yes, I hear you.
So we take the lesson and split it up between us. Like one person is responsible for knowing the connection piece.
Okay.
One person is responsible for knowing the teaching piece and the active engagement and the link.
Okay.
And then after we read our selected part, then we get together on planning day and we teach each other about the part that we read. So that kind of breaks up the amount of reading that we have to do. And we are able to kind of become an expert on our part and then explain it to our teammates. And that kind of really works because it definitely cuts down on the planning time and we're still able to share like ideas and things like that.
There's a couple of other campuses that I've seen doing that exact same thing as far as breaking up the parts of that lesson and being able to come and be an expert. I was going to say, so there's the campus that shared before that. You're not alone either. There's a lot who still feel like they want the chance to read all the way through. And so it's just a matter of negotiating with your team what's going to work best. Anybody else have something different that they do? We all skim through the chapters. Nobody specific. I'm looking through. We read the lesson and pull out the important part. used her idea to come up with. What drives deciding what that important part to pull out is for you guys? Somebody kind of drive how you get to that or explain. No wrong answer. It's how do you get to it? Anyone?
Well,
hear
when
somebody.
I read through it all and I pick out the bullet points, and then if I don't understand the bolded points, I go back and reread through that chapter. We do use like snap words. I like using her language because I also, even though when we say snap words, it's like the word wall words.
Uh-huh.
But I feel we use hers and like writers look up or all of her little ways to get those attention. So I just type in what I will benefit our students the most.
I like how you said, tell me your name again.
Oh, I'm Mary Ort.
Okay, I thought that's who that was, but I can't, like, your picture on my screen's like this tiny, and so I'm like, I think that's who that is. Thank you, Mary. So, yeah, I like what you said about talking about reading the bold stuff, and then especially when you stop there and you're like, okay, wait, I need to go a little deeper, then going into those chunks that are underneath. But I do appreciate the idea that you're pulling out some of her language. You know, I hear sometimes that she doesn't really plan for the kids we have. And to some extent, that's definitely true. She's not sitting in your classroom. It'd be just like me trying to really plan for your kids when I don't even see them every week. So definitely in that aspect, she's not. What I was surprised to find out is how much she studies Texas TEKS and our test. When we listened to her speak, she really shared a lot about our standards and the standards that she has and how closely they're related. And so just to encourage you guys a little bit, sometimes it does feel like she's writing for kids that are like such amazing writers and they're way beyond the kids that we have. Her population actually truly is very similar to ours. You just have to remember she's been at it a whole lot longer, and that's her focus, and that's the area that she really intensifies her instruction. And so while it may feel like we can't quite reach that, I think if we keep working, we can. Something I wanted to share with you guys that is along that idea of breaking apart the sections in each lesson by like the connection, the teaching point. Last year, let me see if I can get back over here. I went out to Range. They were having some of the same trouble, and I made a, excuse me, like a little planning tool, and I don't remember if I've put this in some of the curricular resources and you've already seen it, great. If not, I just wanted to make sure you had access. So here's a couple of QR codes that you could come back to. I'm going to put the slideshow into the Google Plus community. There's also, quit going there, little thing, some bit.do addresses down here that you should be able to put in bit.do Lucy lesson template type. So if you go to this one, it's one where the spaces in the table are really narrow and it will expand as you type. The one on the left, that thing's going to keep popping up on me. You just put print on the word instead. And in that one, I've just made the boxes a little bigger so that you could actually print it and write in it. So if you'll give me just a second, I'll pull up kind of what that looks like. I have them over here. Done. So here's what the one that you could actually type into. I don't know if this will be helpful to you or not, but it was just a way as we were trying to think through how can I break her lessons apart and kind of put it in a little shorter format. This was how I did it. So there's just for each day, you can type right into those boxes and they would expand. Now, when you try to go to the bit.do, it's going to be a forced copy so that you have your own copy to use and you don't start writing in mine. Here's what it looks like if you pull it up to print and write in. I just made the boxes a little bigger so you had some space to write. But then here is one, that I actually kind of completed. This was back like in week 25 last year when I was working with Range, and you guys were on the review or the opinion writings. And so this was the lesson. You can see we were supposed to cover session 14 and 15 that week, so I took session 14, and as we planned together, we broke it across Monday and Tuesday. But this is just a sample lesson. All I filled out was Monday and Tuesday because the teachers, or through Wednesday, the teachers I was planning with were going to teach on Thursday and Friday. So this sample one will be loaded in the Google Plus community if you just want to kind of see how we thought through what was in Lucy. and how we kind of put it into our same words. But Catherine, this is kind of the same thing Catherine was saying earlier, how she kind of puts things into her own words or her own script. But those are all available for you there. Let me put back up those bit.do addresses if you want to record them. Possibly. Where'd they go? There they are. Let me move my pointer out of the way. Come on. There we go. So you can take those down. Again, this slideshow will be in the Google Plus community after today, by Wednesday, hopefully. And you can use the QR codes if you'd like either one of those templates to use. Anybody else do anything else creative, or as they're transferring your thinking from Lucy to planning, do you do anything else that kind of you found has helped your team? Okay. All right. I'm going to keep going if nobody else has something else. So planning is a huge thing for Lucy. I do think that if you're not all going to read the sections, whether it's the connection and then the teaching and active engagement to the linking, if you're not going to read the whole thing, really make sure you're taking that time as a team to teach each other and jigsaw those pieces to share that load. Because like I said, especially if you've got teachers who are new on your team this year, Lucy's completely new and can definitely be overwhelming. All right, so let's talk about rubrics and goal setting for a minute. So I'd love to hear, how do you currently use the narrative rubric in your class? You can respond in the comments, or I'd love to hear out loud, kind of how are you using that rubric right now? In their brains, they're second graders. They're not third graders yet. And I'll give you a minute to kind of respond.
Can you hear me?
I can hear someone.
Again. We took the illustrated template.
Uh-huh.
And I don't prefer the one for the students that has like no, starting to, and yes. There's one that's either yes or no.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot better for our kids. And we blew it up and we color coded it. So like the no is a red box.
Okay.
Yes is a green box. And so we blew it up and then we got it laminated and then taught the kids one thing at a time.
Good.
And each student has their very own color copy of the rubric laminated.
Okay.
Actually get their markers and check.
I like it.
So we found that the 2-box one is a lot better for them.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as when we rate it on in their folders, we use
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, this is what we did.
We have a teacher.
Okay, awesome. So you guys used the ones that have, so there's a couple of different options with the pictures. I've been trying to load both of them in the folders. I'll slowly get it all loaded over to our curricular resources folders, but that, like the one you listed, can also be found in the Writing Pathways book that comes with your box. So there's that one with pictures, and then there's one that has a little bit larger pictures as well, but it's much longer if you were to print the whole thing out. But yeah, the 2 boxes is definitely going to be better. That's the word I'm looking for, better. The one that has the starting to, the 3 options really is more for you as the teacher. Like the one you put in the folder is definitely not going to be the best option for kids, but I know there are some teachers that have expressed they want to use the same thing, so that's kind of why you've got the option there. I like that idea though of using the colors and making it bigger. Let's see, somebody. Setting goals with individual students. Trying to chart negative areas. I like the comment as a guide to conference with students to highlight glows as a writer. Areas to go to guide. Somebody else want to share. How do you, so you've shown your students the rubric and you've talked to them and you've taught what the expectations are on there. How do you kind of manage their goal setting? I know, Shaw, you guys said they have a laminated copy of it. Do they use the same one with a piece of writing until they've accomplished everything? Do they use a new one with each piece of writing? Anyone can share kind of how do you go about the students utilizing it?
Mine is in a sheet protector, so they use
checklist for their writing, and one day we'll do on one square, and then we'll read it again. And this is when some of my friends realize, oh, I forgot to write a ending sound or a word here, and then they just read it, and we'll kind of go over it until we can at least get 4 or so checked off of here before we started it.
Okay.
What especially if we started a day and we didn't finish it, like if we started in Spanish,
Uh-huh.
English day, I'll let them finish their piece in Spanish, and we'll check it off first before we start.
Okay. Okay. So I'm finding it's a little harder to listen to you guys and have Sheila right next to me. Sorry. We have a copy of the illustrated version, and we discuss areas they are doing well in. I like the idea. I like find 2 areas to improve on. It's a good idea to target, especially like some of you have mentioned in a conference, you set that one goal or those 2 things that they want to work on, because definitely it can be overwhelming. Sorry, somebody had a comment. I'm skimming back through. Okay, that next question on the screen was similar to what you've already answered. How do you help first graders set goals based on their rubric? What I'm wondering is, what are some troubleshooting things you've come across? Like, what is hard about using the rubric with kids? I'd love to hear what is hard, and then to hear some of you respond with maybe how do you handle struggles that you hear your peers are having. So what are some difficult things about setting goals with kids and writing?
Well, I have friends that try to do everything all at once, and I'm like, no, let's focus on 1 or 2 things first, and then once we've corrected all of that,
Okay.
on to something else, because you do have those overeager ones that I want to check everything off.
Get it all right.
The ones that are reluctant and they're like, I don't want to do it. Like, let's just focus on 1. Don't worry about everything else. We'll just focus.
You know, I laugh that you say that, because kids are so much like us as adults even. I know just pre-K, for example, pre-K teachers are having to work through a very specific rubric and things they have to do in their classroom. And I've got teachers who are like, I want to get them all and get them all right now. And then I've got some teachers who are like, I don't even know where to start. Like, how do I do this? So what are some things somebody else share? Because Shaw, I know you guys have got some ideas of how you manage that. I'd love to hear from somebody else. You've got a kiddo who's overwhelmed by those goals. What are some things other than saying, hey, let's just choose 1? So what can you do to help students who are wanting to try to do everything? Seaburn, I like your grins that you got going on there. Has anybody cut the rubric apart rather than giving them like the whole goal sheet, just giving them like 1 piece to work on?
Yes, we have. We cut it apart, especially like on the wall.
Okay.
When it's on the wall, because we have it really big.
I see.
And so,
Oh, that's Shannon. Hi, Shannon. Sorry, I just now saw you. Keep going. So you cut it apart?
Yeah, it's cut apart, and so there's only 4 on this section.
Okay.
And then there'll be 2 on another, and so that way we can just look at a few things at a time.
Yeah, and it looks like you guys have the one that has the little bigger pictures off to the side rather than the small pictures underneath.
Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah, so that's one way to help. And even if you've got a kiddo who even those 4 is too much, it's totally okay. Let's cut off 2, and let's just keep those stapled to your writing folder to start thinking through those. I'm looking for, I like all the posters that you guys have made. Did you guys do those? Do y'all have poster makers on campus, or did you go to the PDC?
PDC.
PDC.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a campus the other day who had a beautiful poster maker of their own. I was a little jealous.
Yeah, those are the campuses that get a lot of money. Fort Thompson didn't get any money.
Okay. Well, so one thing I know that came up last time that I want to try to clear up or just kind of discuss if I can, is there is that one spot on the rubric in elaboration and craft where Ms. Hancock was asking last time about, it's basically both places saying I added details. And so this, I don't know. Hold on a second. Let me get out of this screen. Oh, go back. We'll come back to that in a minute. Escape. All right, let's go to the Google Plus community here. Is my screen still sharing with all of you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the first grade Google Plus community. Here's where I tried to kind of share a little bit last time. Those of you who weren't with us last time, I'm just going to kind of try to recap. Ms. Hancock had a great question. What's the difference between I had details and pictures and words, which is under elaboration on the rubric, and I use labels and words to give details under craft. And for our little ones, this is going to be a place that's hard for them to distinguish. So it's going to be really reliant on us. But the big difference is between the purpose of them. Short answer, I'm just going to read what I had, and then I'm going to try to give you some examples that I've been trying to think through. The difference lies in the purpose of the details, words or pictures, whether it doesn't matter if it's words or pictures. So if we're using words or pictures for elaboration, we're just simply telling more. We're trying to move the plot along. Whereas craft, the writer's very intentional about the words or details because they give the reader a better picture in their mind. And so here's an example. I don't know if this is the best example ever. You guys probably have kid writing out there that would be better. But I was thinking so let's say the most basic was a child wrote, I ate cake. And so he could elaborate on that. He could tell me more. I ate chocolate cake. Then we went to open presents. So he's going to give me more information. So he's elaborating, and he's going to take me on to the next thing in the plot. My picture might just be a kiddo. Sorry, I was going to draw this for you, but too many things to get it drawn and up on a digital format for you to see. I don't know if I can share that. It's probably kind of backwards, but might just be a kiddo with his cake over on the table. Let's take that same example. If he's developing craft, he might be able to think about it like, I gulped my cake in one bite. So there he's created a better picture for the reader. His illustration might be a kid with chocolate or brown all over his face if he ate chocolate cake. So it's getting them to think about what are the actions I can do as a writer that help my reader either know where the story's going or, sorry, that's my teenager calling me, telling me he needs to be picked up. He can't wait. Versus that craft. I know it's really hard right now for our kids to understand. I think the main point would be to show them text that someone's reasonable goals would be showing them examples of text where the author has given you more. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this again. That helps you connect to the character or to their feelings or to their actions, whereas just giving you the action or just giving you the detail, that moves the story along, but it doesn't have the craft. I know it's really hard, and it's really hard for me to explain sitting here in front of a computer.
Oh, you're going to have something?
Is Miss Hancock there?
Yes, I'm saying thank you very much.
I hear you. Does that help? Hi, friends. Does that help at all?
It did.
I know it seems very convoluted and complex right now, especially for our first graders. But if we can at least start that discussion now, that there's a difference in giving me more, I need more so that I can continue to tell the story, but then I also, an author, can be very specific about the way I tell you so that you, the reader, can see it better in your head.
Yes.
And remember, a lot of this, some of this may still be starting to at the end of the year, some of these more difficult things. But we're just really, our goal is trying to move our kids past just the conventions and really thinking about the craft. I know Kathy just did writing training with fourth grade teachers, and we're still finding that as we go to look at our kids' writing, even through fourth and fifth grade, we're going right to the editing things and to finding punctuation and capitalization. And we're finding our kids, even with that not being super strong, they can still score very well and still have well-written work when the craft as a writer is there. I think also as we move forward, we think real world and not just testing. Our kids are going to have tools to help them with some of those things through technology. But that craft as a writer, putting in words that help the reader understand, is something a computer is never really going to be able to do for us. So I know it's not exactly easy to explain. Hopefully we'll just kind of all continue to work with it to improve. So okay, well, it is 4:02, so I'm going to keep us moving a little bit here. Let's go back to the slides. So, are there any other lingering questions that you have, particularly to the Lucy lessons? I want to talk in just a second about the scope and sequence because I did make a change that you're about to come up on. But are there any other questions regarding Lucy that you've come across? So, if there are, type them in, voice them out, whatever you'd like to do. I'm going to skim through the comments while y'all are thinking. I appreciate, Henry, you saying that it takes a lot of modeling. It does. A lot of modeling, a lot of consistent modeling on our part.
Use a different. Can we use a different rubric for grading, or do we need to use this for grading?
So I would say you need to use the rubric that you're evaluating them by. I mean, you can use the kid-friendly one if that's easy, if that's better, but because it's tied to Lucy, it's assessing if you've taught what's in the curriculum. So if you're pulling a different rubric, we'd need to make sure it's really aligned to the Lucy stuff.
Okay.
And the TEKS. I think also another thing I'm thinking of is as we move into the new TEKS, there's going to be quite a few changes. So I wouldn't want you to spend a lot of time with creating a new rubric that's not going to lead into the new TEKS. What are you thinking about? What were you thinking?
I think it's just an easier an easier format, I guess, where you can write the grade and what we've worked on so far.
Shoot it to me and let me look at it. Let me see if it looks good. Then we'll see. I'll see what Andrew would kind of make the final decision as far as grading stuff goes. But of course, and if you used a mix of both, that also would at least give you a little better picture instead of just relying on one or the other. That might be an option as well.
Okay.
How long should they work on one piece of writing? That's a tough one to answer whole group because it really depends on how you guys, if you're truly letting them self-select their topic as opposed to like asking everybody to be writing to, a particular topic, while Lucy really lets them generate and what are they going to write about, where I'm writing about what I did this weekend. Shannon might be writing about what she did for her birthday last year, and Kim might be writing about what she had for dinner or for breakfast this morning. In some classrooms, that's the way it is. In some classrooms, it's a little more guided, and the teacher's expectation is that we're all writing about what we did at the fair. So how long the piece of writing is going to really depend on you, how you, the teacher, take it. And it depends on how long each kiddo works through a piece of writing. There's not really a good guideline as to they should work on one piece for 3 days and then move on to the next. Lucy's theory is it's just kind of ongoing through that unit. One kiddo may get through 5 pieces and one might get through 3. Now, if you've got a kiddo who's still on that same piece, obviously through the whole small moments or personal narratives unit, then we've got to have some conversations to think about that through our conferring. Good questions, though. Good questions. All right. Okay, I'm going to keep us moving because if we get done early, we get done early. So coming up, one thing I wanted to talk about that is coming up. Sorry, I'm trying not to. My son is still texting me, and I'm trying to tell him, leave me alone right now. Okay, so coming up, new unit and Lucy. So you guys are almost done, excuse me, with Small Moments. The last week of Small Moments has 4 lessons coming up next week. In week 11 lists 4 lessons left in the unit. You guys have the option to choose from those. Most of those lessons are tying up the unit, publishing, editing. You really need a structure based on how you've taught the unit, which of those lessons are going to fit best for your class, and to what extent you're going to publish, and to what extent you're going to celebrate their writing. The hope is that you publish in some form, even if that's just rewriting or it's even just a page, or but that you have some kind of piece, or maybe you choose just to review all of them and celebrate all of their writing instead of publishing. So you kind of have an option to choose those lessons. We needed to wrap up the small moment unit because I'm trying. It's still not going to align perfectly, but there was a request at the feedback to align better the reading and writing. And so I'm trying to do that a little bit. So that's why you'll start in week 12 with nonfiction chapter books, just as reading comprehension is starting to look at literary fiction versus informational. And then my hope, so then as we go on, as I'm looking at scope and sequence, all the way through week 13, 14, 15, 16, or I'm sorry, through week 15, you'll still be doing nonfiction chapter books, and you're only going to go through basically the first bend, and then we're going to stop because we have to cover letters according to our TEKS still, and it's around Christmas, so I know that's a helpful time to do that. Then you'll come into the third reporting period, and we will pick back up with from scenes to series instead of going back to nonfiction writing right away. So if hopefully this makes sense, you'll do the first bend of nonfiction writing, you'll have some time to do letters around Christmas and everything, and then we'll come back and go into this first bend from scenes to series so that you're back into narrative writing. At the same time, there's still some narrative and literary fiction being taught in comprehension. Is that making sense? You guys give me a thumbs up. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't really want to break the units, but after asking a few teachers and having such a desire to try to line up what you're teaching and reading with what the type of writing they're doing, that was the best I could kind of do. So I look forward to hearing if it works for you. If it seems like it's too choppy, let me know. And then, of course, next year we'll have all new resources for reading, so we'll see how that goes. But I really would love your feedback on, did it help to at least have some mentor texts that you could connect to in your comprehension that line with your writing a little bit? So that's the reason for that switch. So if you look, you get to the end of let me slip back here. You get to week 15 and you're not in the nonfiction chapter book anymore for Lucy, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, we only did one bend. We're going to come back to it, but it's just in order to try to make reading and writing align a little better. Okay, so forethought white space. I wanted to get some feedback real fast on forethought. So I'm going to switch over to on my screen here. Hopefully you've noticed I tried to make, so this space over here, if you can see where my mouse is rolling. Can everyone see forethought on there now? Okay, cool. I've tried to kind of restructure this. This area is called the white space. Don't know what you call it, but here in the office, that's what they called it. So this is where typically there's just been kind of notes and news for you, and I've tried to give you a little bit more information here. So first reporting period I got done, and second reporting period I'm kind of building as we go because I want it to be more current. But hopefully you're going to find some information, especially about new TEKS, and I'm trying to connect to information in the comprehension lessons and then also things that are coming up. So if you look as we get ready for week 11, I've got a little bit, hold on. There we go. Come on. So in the looking forward, I pulled a little bit from the new TEKS about literary elements and some of the discussion and reasons that we've got there. Like I wanted you to notice that when we're talking about stories, beginning, middle, and end is actually never listed in our TEKS, that we're going to have to really start taking it a little bit deeper. We don't have time to get into all that today. Maybe that's where we'll head with our next Zoom session. But I just wanted to make you aware because I've come across a couple teachers and I'll say it's in the white space and they're like, what do you mean by the white space? So that's this space here. And it's not going to be filled out as far out in the year because like I said, I'm trying to keep it a little bit more current so that there's stuff that you can go to. So please don't just skip over it. I would love for you to look at it. You'll see coming up, there may be some Google Plus community challenges. So I might ask, I think, is it this one? This one, let's go back. Here's one. So in week 10, maybe you saw, when did you last check out the Google Plus community? Remember this is for first grade teachers. So later there might be one in collaboration that says, is anybody willing to post a picture of one of your students writing? Or would you share with us an anchor chart you created recently? So I'm going to try to kind of give you some ideas of what you could share to the Google Plus community, just for a little more collaboration. So that's the white space. I just wanted to call your attention to it because I've been receiving some questions. The other thing I wanted to make sure you saw was tech lessons. Those are going to be in green, but they should be taking you to, give me 1 second, a folder. Hopefully you've seen, let me go into first grade. They'll take you into this folder or into these particular lessons. Did any of you find or come across this one yet on using Chatterpix for character this week? Anyone? No one? All right, well, keep an eye out. Usually there'll be a link in green in your white space or sometimes in the comprehension lessons. I've been trying to add them in there. And it's just a way that you can use a technology tool for responding to reading. In our new TEKS, we have a whole strand only on response to reading, and so we're trying to add those. So just be on the lookout for those if you didn't know they were there before now. Hopefully now you do, and you'll find them as we go. We'll keep adding on to those. All right, let me go. I think that's it. That's all I really have for today. I'll skim back through our chat if there's any other questions. Are there any questions about anything else with curricular resources or anything that's coming up? No one? No one? Okay, so before we leave, this is the last thing I would love to hear. Let me put this up. In the comments or out loud, I would love you to share. What are you looking forward to the most this week or next that you're going to be doing with your students? So, and that can be any content area. What are you looking forward to this week?
Do you have anything? Oh, isn't it writing where we do the doing pop-up words? Pop out? Is it pop out? Pop out words, you know, where they get to write, and so that'll be fun.
Okay. I like it. Anybody else? See, a lot of you are typing. Halloween stems over in the writing station. That'll be cool. Character feelings and everything. Yeah. Are any of my gray teachers, not gray, sorry, Mackey teachers, are you on here? Mackie, I don't remember seeing you. So before I let you go, I do want to talk about that. When I was at Mackey this last week, we were looking at the SEs for this week, and we got kind of bogged down. We kept talking about character actions and feelings, and the whole need for those is because they drive character traits, eventually knowing what their feelings and their actions are. And so I was looking over at the new TEKS, and actually for first grade next year, they take the word feelings out, and it will focus a lot more on actions. Let me see if I can find, I can't find it right now, and I don't have it in front of you, so that probably wouldn't be super fair. But just be thinking about the whole reason that we're talking about what are the actions of the characters, what are their feelings, and how do they change, is that's what drives the plot. So we got a little bogged down into just trying to say what were the feelings or what was the cause and effect of the feelings, and we want to relate it back to the whole story. How does it drive the plot, and how does it impact that character? It was brought up by somebody else in the group that a character's actions aren't always connected to their traits, which would be a fun discussion for the next time. So just think about that as a team. Maybe y'all can discuss, are they connected all the time or are they not? I'm not going to get into it today. But I thought it would be some good food for thought. All right, things you're looking forward to: using technology with characters and pop-out words in reading. How are you using technology with that? I don't know which campus. It's not showing me.
It was Smith. Technologies, sometimes my kids are most familiar with Seesaw.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll create an activity and they can go respond. Either they can record themselves or do the video. Some of my groups know how to do Chatterpix, so they like to do that as well. And just describing the character. It's our first day, so maybe by Wednesday we'll try to pull it out and I can go back and look at it and see what they're learning and what we need to teach.
What they're learning and what they're missing. Our lessons.
Do you have one-to-one there?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
Speaking of, is there anybody who uses Seesaw, but you don't have one-to-one, that you found any tricks or any ways to kind of manage when you don't have more than 5 iPads in your classroom?
You could
Right.
rotate it. Have like a rotation day of kids that you know are really going to need that verbal response versus your high group that can actually do the pen and paper. We've had to do that. Last year, this is our first year being one-to-one. So last year we had to kind of pick and choose. Well, this group will do it this day. This
Okay.
group will do it the next day. That way.
Okay. Good thoughts. Anybody else? All right. Well, if you guys don't have any other further questions, keep the questions coming. Remember, you can always post questions in the Google Plus community, especially around Lucy. I try to check it about once a week if it doesn't pop up and give me the alert that something's been added. So definitely remember, it's a place that only Mesquite ISD teachers go can access that community. So it's a great place to ask questions and to help each other. All right. Well, go forth, enjoy your Halloween fun as it comes up, and have a great evening. Thanks for joining me. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and read some of the things back.